If someone had told me a year ago that a casual run-in at a grocery store would unravel my entire life, I would have laughed it off like the plot of some melodramatic film. But that's exactly how it all began. Now, I'm writing this from a cramped, half-furnished apartment that doesn't feel anything like home, because the one place that did? That's gone. Maybe for good. I'm 32. My husband, well, ex-husband now, Mark, was the kind of man women often hope for but rarely find. Steady. Honest. Uncomplicated. He wasn't flashy or dramatic or any of the reckless types I used to be drawn to when I was younger. Mark was dependable in the quietest, most sincere ways. He'd set reminders for my doctor's appointments, just so I wouldn't forget. He kept a stash of my favorite snacks in his office, just in case I dropped by. He never missed anniversaries. He never yelled. He never avoided the hard talks. He stayed. And I loved him. At least, I truly believed I did. Maybe part of me still does. Just, not in the way a woman should love the man she vowed to grow old with. We met when I was 25, both working at the same marketing agency. He was assigned to guide me through onboarding my first week, and there was an immediate connection. By the end of my second month there, we were inseparable. He brought calm to my chaos, and at the time, that's exactly what I needed. I had just come out of years of toxic relationships, one in particular that left scars I didn't yet understand. Caleb. I met him during my junior year of college. He was tall, effortlessly charming, magnetic, and completely unstable. The kind of man who could make you feel like you were everything one moment and absolutely nothing the next. Emotionally erratic. Addictive. We broke up and got back together so many times I lost count. I cried myself to sleep more nights than I care to remember, always promising myself I was done. And yet, the second he came back, I fell for it again. It was like my brain knew better, but my heart refused to listen. Everyone around me saw how unhealthy it was. I did too, deep down. But with Caleb, logic never stood a chance. When it finally ended, it ended hard. I caught him in bed with another girl. A classmate of mine, no less. He didn't even try to lie. Just looked at me, unapologetic. I stood there in the hallway of his apartment, frozen. Then I turned and left, telling myself I'd never go back. I believed I meant it. And then, 6 weeks ago. It was a Tuesday. Plain, uneventful. I'd left work early to grab groceries, annoyed that the store had rearranged their layout again. I couldn't find the almond milk. I was in the produce section, weighing avocados in one hand and pretending I had any idea what I was doing, when I heard a voice behind me. You still take 20 minutes just to pick fruit. I went completely still. That voice, casual, teasing, unmistakably familiar, sent a jolt straight through me. I turned around, slowly, and there he was. Caleb. Older, obviously. A little bulkier. A neatly trimmed beard. Wearing a fitted black t-shirt and jeans. Same smirk, the one that used to make my heart leap and my brain shut down. His hair was shorter now, his jaw more defined, but it was undeniably him. And all at once, a wave of warmth and nervous energy crashed over me. Caleb, I said, barely managing his name. In the flesh, he grinned. Wow, you look incredible. I thanked him, awkwardly. He asked what brought me to that part of town, and I told him we had moved nearby a couple years ago. I made sure to mention I was married. He glanced at my ring, then back at me with that familiar glint in his eyes. Lucky guy, he said. That should have been my cue to end it. To turn and walk away. But instead, I laughed. We kept chatting. He told me he lived just a few blocks away now, that he was in real estate, had a couple of rental properties. Doing all right, he added with a wink. I told him I worked remotely now, still in marketing. We stood there for maybe 10 minutes, trading updates, joking about the past. Then he asked if I was on Instagram. I hesitated. Told him I didn't really use it anymore. He raised an eyebrow. Old school, huh? Well, give me your number then, just for coffee sometime. Catch up properly. I wish I could say I was caught off guard. That it was an impulsive mistake. But the truth is, something in me, something that had been buried for years, stirred. I gave him my number. Then I went home. Kissed my husband on the cheek. Made chicken Alfredo. Pretended nothing had happened. That night, Caleb and I started texting. It started off innocent. Funny stories. Shared memories. Inside jokes. We laughed at how ridiculous we'd been back then. But Caleb had a talent for blurring boundaries and making you feel like you weren't crossing them at all. I bet you still do that little lip bite thing when you're nervous, one message said. Another, I remember how you'd curl into me after a fight. God, we were a disaster, but it was kind of beautiful, wasn't it? I knew I should have stopped. But I didn't. I knew I was playing with fire. But there was something intoxicating about it, like slipping on an old leather jacket that doesn't fit right anymore, but still makes you feel sexy. A week later, we met for coffee. He looked even better in person. Confident. Flirtatious, bold in that way I used to find irresistible. We laughed for over an hour. He touched my hand when he told a joke. When we hugged goodbye, his hand lingered just a second too long on my lower back. I walked away feeling dizzy and electrified. That night, Mark and I watched a movie together. I cuddled into his chest and tried to feel guilty, but all I could think about was how boring it felt compared to how alive I had felt earlier. Within 2 weeks, Caleb and I had kissed. Within 3, we were sleeping together. Hotels mostly, one time in his loft. Once, God, I hate admitting this. In my car during my lunch break, I lied to Mark constantly. Said I was running errands or meeting friends or stuck late on a Zoom call. I justified it in 1,000 ways. Caleb made me feel seen, desired, excited. Mark was sweet, but predictable, safe. I told myself I was just getting it out of my system, that I would stop soon, that it didn't mean I didn't love my husband. But every time I kissed Caleb, I pushed Mark a little further out of my heart. I don't know how he found out. Maybe he noticed something in my behavior. Maybe he saw a message pop up on the iPad. I forgot those were synced once. However, it happened on a Thursday night. I walked in the door, kicking off my heels, babbling about how awful traffic had been. And there he was, sitting at the kitchen table, pale and still, our iPad on the table in front of him. He didn't say anything at first. Just looked at me, eyes red like he'd been crying. But there was something else there, too. Something I had never seen in Mark before. I read the messages, he said quietly. I froze. What? He turned the screen toward me. There they were. Dozens of texts between me and Caleb. Flirty, sexual, graphic. Time-stamped. I couldn't speak. My brain was fogged. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion and realizing too late that you're in the driver's seat. How long has this been going on? He asked. His Voice didn't rise. That made it worse. I swallowed hard. A few weeks, I whispered. He nodded, stood up, walked to the bedroom. I followed him, pleading. He didn't yell, didn't even look at me. He grabbed a duffel bag, stuffed it with clothes, his charger, some toiletries. Then he walked to the door. Mark, please just talk to me. He turned to me finally. His face was blank, not angry, not sad, just hollow. I can't even look at you right now. Then he left. I stood in the doorway barefoot and shaking for 10 minutes before I realized I couldn't hear anything anymore. Not the hum of the fridge, not the clock ticking in the hallway, just silence. And that silence was deafening. The next day, I got a text from his sister. He was staying with her. She said he needed space, that he wasn't ready to talk. I sent texts. I called. I even emailed him. Nothing. 3 days later, a manila envelope was delivered to the house. Divorce papers. I collapsed on the floor, clutching the envelope to my chest, sobbing so hard I couldn't breathe. I tried seeing Caleb after that once. I needed to feel like I hadn't destroyed everything for nothing. But it was different now. I saw him for what he was. Fun, charming, but hollow. He didn't ask how I was. Didn't seem concerned that my marriage had ended. When I cried in his bed, he awkwardly patted my back and offered to call an Uber. I left that night and never saw him again. Mark and I are officially divorced now. I moved into this tiny apartment a few weeks ago. It's always cold. The windows rattle when it rains. There's a weird smell in the hallway I can't seem to get rid of. I brought with me the few things Mark didn't want. A couple of mugs, my books, our wedding photo, which I keep in a drawer face down. I lost my best friend, my partner. The one person who ever loved me. Completely without conditions. I destroyed him. I destroyed us. I think about him constantly. About how he used to leave sticky notes on the bathroom mirror when he left for work early. About the time he stayed up with me all night when my mom was in the hospital holding my hand while I cried. About the look on his face the day I walked down the aisle. So full of love. It made me feel like I was the only person in the world and I threw it away. For what? A fantasy, a fleeting high. A stupid, reckless desire to feel something different. I've started therapy. I'm trying to unpack why I did what I did. There's no excuse. I don't want to excuse it, but I need to understand it because if I don't, I'll keep hurting people. Sometimes I still think about calling him just to hear his voice. Just to say, I'm sorry again. But I don't because I know that sorry doesn't fix this. If you're reading this and you're on the edge of making a decision like mine, don't. Please. It's not worth it. That thrill, that excitement, that fire you think you miss, it burns everything in its path. And when the flames die out, all you're left with is ash and regret. I lost the love of my life. And the worst part is, I can't even say I didn't see it coming. Because I did. I just didn't stop. And now I live with that every single day.